The vibes are good, Broncos country. The vibes are good. The Denver Broncos beat the New Orleans Saints in dominant fashion, 33-10. The Denver Broncos completely shut down the Saints offense. Defense played lights out. They got a defensive touchdown, should have had 2 defensive touchdowns if it weren't for DJ Jones jumping off sides. They were in Spencer Rattler's face, making him uncomfortable all game long. They completely shut down the Saints offense. For the Broncos offense, it was by no means perfect. I thought that Bo Nix did not have a clean game, but at the end of the day, they were able to run the ball. They were able to bleed out the clock towards the end and really pull away with a dominant victory. So this is going to be one that the Broncos are definitely going to remember for a long time. Sean Payton is certainly going to remember this game for a very long time. This was one that he simply, for bragging rights reasons, could not afford to lose. You could not go back into New Orleans after the way that you left the team. A lot of Saints fans will say that Sean Payton quit on them. You couldn't go in there after that and lose to the New Orleans Saints. The Broncos took care of business against a beat-up and battered Saints team. They dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, won the war of attrition in the trenches, and that is ultimately a big reason why they were able to come away with this victory. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the box score here. We'll go ahead and present that. Bring this in real quick, guys. So for the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix, far from a clean game in this one. He was 16 for 26 for 164 yards, no touchdowns, should have had an interception. He threw it right to Tyrann Mathieu. Mathieu didn't look like he was expecting the ball, and he dropped it. So that was not great. I thought Bo Nix had happy feet in the pocket in this game, thought that he was skittish and inconsistent, and ultimately really struggled there in that first half once again, but ultimately was able to make some plays with his legs once again. 10 carries for 75 yards, easily the best attribute of his game. I thought he also made some good throws there when he had to in crunch time. Additionally, this is a big stat on the day. No sacks taken. He was able to get out of a couple of would-be sacks as well. I thought that Bo Nix did a really good job with his legs today, with his athleticism. Easily the top takeaway for Bo Nix on the day. Additionally, Javonte Williams looked awesome. He heard my criticisms from last week when he put the ball on the carpet and played terrible against the Chargers, dropped a screen pass that would have continued a Broncos drive. He answered the bell. 14 carries for 88 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Additionally, we saw Jaleel McLaughlin with an explosive play for 21 yards and ultimately finished with 4 carries for 35 yards. Audric Estime, 5 carries for 29 yards. So overall, the run game looked as dynamic as we've seen it look all season long. That was to be expected against a Saints rushing defense that was bottom of the barrel in most categories. They were terrible. You expected this kind of dominating performance by the Broncos running game, and they delivered in that front, which was really awesome to see. Troy Franklin, you could argue this was kind of a breakout game for him. 5 catches for 50 yards, had a long of 30, was a reliable target there for Bo Nix. Lucas Kroll finally gave the Broncos some decent production at the tight end position. 3 catches for 41 yards, 3 catches for 23 yards to add on to Javonte Williams' production on the ground. Really great day from him. A catch for 20 yards from Devon Vele. Marvin Mims, 2 catches, 18 yards. Little Jordan Humphrey, 2 catches for 12 yards. Defensively, Justin Strnad led you in total tackles and had a sack. The Broncos, how many sacks did they have on the day here? They were really able to get a lot of good pass rush. They had 6 sacks on the day on Spencer Rattler. I thought that Rattler struggled quite a bit handling the Broncos' pressure. Justin Strnad had a sack. Jaquan McMillan had a sack. Cody Barton had a sack. He also had that return for a touchdown. He also would have had the other one if DJ Jones hadn't have jumped off sides. Nick Benito had a sack in this one. He was awesome. Jaquan McMillan also had that forced fumble on his sack. John Franklin Myers with a sack. Zach Allen and Jonah Ellis, they also shared a sack as well. It was the Broncos' sack party. It really was. They were they were making Rattler uncomfortable pretty much all game long. We got Ray in the house. Good to see you. Says, let's go. Wow. This was a really good victory for the Broncos. It really was. Quentin Caldwell says, now we rest and get ready for the Panthers. The Panthers are an opponent that is very much beatable. The Denver Broncos have a chance to be 5-3 after next week, but you got to celebrate this victory because this was one where the Broncos took care of business. As Rayanne points out, it was a bad team, but at the end of the day, man, the Broncos took care of business and they blew out a bad team on the road. Rayanne also says, good to see Mathis back. Unfortunately, we did see him get shaken up at the end of the game. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully it's nothing serious with him. Hopefully it's just something minor, but hope we'll see Mathis back soon and he can be a impact player. It was good to see him make a couple of plays tonight in this game for sure. We also saw Quan Alexander get his first snaps for the Denver Broncos, and he played a part in, I believe it was the first turnover. The Broncos won the turnover battle in this game. Last week, they went into the fourth quarter down by 23. In this game, they went into the fourth quarter up by 23. Spencer Rattler in this game was 25 for 35 for 172 yards, took 6 sacks, didn't throw an interception to his credit, but still got strip sacked a couple of times, put the ball in harm's way in that regard. Kendre Miller, 6 carries for 36 yards. Spencer Rattler, 5 carries, 34 yards. Jamal Williams, 3 carries for 17 yards. And Alvin Kamara, the Broncos completely shut him down. He had 7 carries for 10 yards, 1.4 yards per carry, and in the receiving game, not much better. 6 receptions, 14 yards. The Broncos knew that they had to take away Alvin Kamara in this game, and they did a successful job of doing that. Cedric Wilson was the Saints' leading receiver in the absence of Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, who is now out for the season with a meniscus injury. 6 catches for 57 yards, some of it in garbage time, as well as a touchdown. The touchdown came in garbage time. Mason Tipton, 6 receptions for 45 yards. I was worried about him potentially burning the Broncos deep, and he did have that one chance against Riley Moss, but it was good coverage by Moss. Foster Moreau, 2 catches, 38 yards. Bub Means, 3 catches, 37 yards. Spencer Rattler, 2 lost fumbles on the game, including the one that was scoop and scored. Would have had another one as well. Jordan Howden was the leading tackler with 8 tackles. They lost their leading tackler on the year, Paulson Adebo. He'd already accrued 6 tackles when he went down in that first half with an injury. Really unfortunate situation there for Adebo. So overall, man, the Denver Broncos were able to pull off a dominant victory here. They dominated the time of possession. If we go ahead and bring in the team stats right here, the Denver Broncos, well, actually, they kind of let up a little bit in the second half. In the first half, they dominated the time of possession, 33-16 to 26-44. Some of that came in garbage time in the second half there for the New Orleans Saints after Denver already had the game well in command. One thing that was disappointing was Denver's third down efficiency offensively. They were only 4 for 11 on third down. I thought Bo Nix left some plays on the table, missed a couple open receivers, didn't see him, had bad footwork. Again, Bo Nix's lower body mechanics are easily the worst element of his game right now, and it's something that's going to have to be cleaned up. Denver with 61 total plays to New Orleans with 66 total plays. Denver with 389 total yards, 271 total yards for the Saints. Denver with 225 rushing yards. Anytime you can go over 200 on the ground, that almost always is going to result in a win. Bo Nix has got to start overthrowing and underthrowing the ball. It pisses me off so much. And it all starts with footwork and lower body mechanics. Until he hones in on those things, then the accuracy issues are still going to linger. Man, that scrambling ability of Nix reminds me of Elway. Bo Nix is really a sneaky good athlete. Bo Nix has that ability to dip and weave through defenders. I think that that's one of the best elements of Bo Nix's game. So really very pleasing to see that in this game. It looked like the Broncos kind of leaned into it a little bit more. We saw some designed QB runs, QB sweeps, a couple of RPOs, some read options. So it looked like the Broncos really did lean into that in this game, which was really good to see, man. I thought that using Bo Nix's legs when the passing game was struggling, that helped kind of break things open on offense. And additionally, what also helped was obviously getting that run game going there in the second half. Javonte Williams, Audric Estime, unfortunately, he put the ball on the carpet in this game. Is Sean Payton live yet? No, he is not. Okay. Audric Estime, at the end of the game, he did put the ball on the carpet, which is something that you do not want to see, man. That might have cost him possible reps moving forward. I'm very, very upset that Audric Estime had that fumble that almost had a chance to let the Saints back into the game. If it would have been a little bit earlier on, it definitely would have let the Saints back in the game. Yep, got to deal with that happy feet in the pocket, 100%. Appreciate you, Rayanne. Love you too, brother. Thanks for all the great streams. Absolutely. I absolutely love doing this. One of my favorite parts of this job is doing these streams. So absolutely love it, guys. And it's after wins like tonight where you dominate your opponent. You dominate an opponent that you should dominate on paper. No more of losing games that on paper you should win. That's something that feels like is finally in the past for the Denver Broncos, and that is damn good to see. Crumble Cookie says 55 is the next Fred Warner. Got to give credit to Cody Barton. He played a hell of a game today, and that comes after he really did struggle in the game against the Chargers, gave up that wheel route for a touchdown to Kamani Vidal. I was concerned that we were going to see Cody Barton give up a couple big plays to Alvin Kamara, and the exact opposite happened. They completely took away Alvin Kamara in this game. He was a non-factor. That is big-time credit to the Broncos and to Cody Barton. Additionally, they got Quan Alexander in there. Justin Sternad played a great game. He led the Broncos in tackles. So this defense shows that even without Pat Surtain, they've got the ability to shut down their opponent. Again, I know some analysts will put an asterisk on this win because of how beat up the Saints were. But at the end of the day, we all know that those same analysts would be giving the Broncos all kinds of crap if they couldn't beat an opponent that they should have beat soundly. I thought that the Broncos were going to be able to take care of business in this game. That's why I picked them to win 28-10. And that was pretty close to the final score. They dominated by several scores. They shut down the Saints offense. When you've got a rookie quarterback making his second NFL start behind an offensive line that is basically four backups and a guy who's a rookie left tackle that's kind of struggling out there. So overall, very bad offensive line. The receiving core for the Saints is completely decimated. Rashid Shaheed's out for the season. Chris Olave was out for this game with a concussion. With a patchwork offensive line, a rookie quarterback, and a practice squad receiving core, this should have been a bigger spread, quite frankly. Crumble Cookies comes in here and says that us only being favored by 3 points is disrespectful. Absolutely agree. I feel like the Broncos should have been favored by at least a touchdown in this game. They go out there and they completely prove Vegas wrong, man. They dominated. This was a victory that you were going to sit back and you're going to look at it and go, okay, yeah, there's plenty to improve on the offensive side of the ball, especially at the quarterback position, but you're still winning football games even with your rookie quarterback struggling. Hell, the over-under on the Broncos win total this year was what, 5.5 games? They're well on pace to surpass that. This feels like it could very easily be a 9-10 win football team right now. It really could. Starting to lose my voice, damn it. But this really feels like they could be a team that could snap their playoff drought because of their defense. And when we start getting later on in the year, as the weather starts to get colder, especially in December, that's when the winds of change start to blow in the NFL. And that's when we see the cream of the crop really start to rise to the top. And additionally, this is when we start to see teams pivot more onto running the ball and leaning on their defenses to win football games. That favors the Broncos. If they can continue to establish a run game like they did in tonight's game, and if they can continue to play sound defense, then they're going to be able to overcome some of the early struggles that they have had offensively. And that continued, unfortunately, in this game. Again, Bo Nix, the biggest thing he has to clean up is his footwork and his lower body mechanics and some of his skittishness in the pocket. The good news is all of that, you can clean it up, and it will improve with time. As Bo gets more comfortable, gets more reps in the NFL, learns what defenses are going to do, learns how to recognize where pressure might be coming from pre-snap. As that time comes, then we're going to start to see this offense be able to be more dynamic. And if this offense is more dynamic with the way that this defense is playing right now, this team can win a lot of football games. The Broncos are now 11-6 in their last 17 games that they have played. They are objectively in a really good spot right now, a far better spot than they've been in ever since the Gary Kubiak days. We have not seen this Broncos team be able to string together these type of wins. We've not seen them consistently back-to-back times beat an opponent that they should beat on paper. I feel like the game against the Chargers are a better team than I gave them credit for heading into that game, especially in the trenches. I thought that the Chargers on the offensive line were very sound. They kept Justin Herbert clean for most of that game, and the Broncos struggled to be able to generate much of a pass rush in that game because the Chargers were just a better team in the defense. But you think about the games against the Raiders and now against the Saints, where it's two bad teams that on paper Denver should steamroll, and both times they've answered the bell and they have steamrolled. We got Maverick saying a rare appearance for a post-game stream. Yeah, we're going a little bit longer than normal. Sean Payton hasn't taken the podium yet. You know that Club Dub is going bananas right now in that visitors' locker room. We're going to hear him partying in that Saints press conference because Sean Payton has designed it to where you can hear from the locker rooms in the press room. You can hear Club Dub. That was something Sean Payton wanted to do during his time in New Orleans. So we're going to hear him celebrating during Sean Payton's post-game presser, and we're also going to hear it during the Saints post-game pressers as well. It's going to be awesome. Club Dub. So on the road, the Broncos bring a full-blown stereo system, a full-blown DJ, all of that stuff. And if you get a big win on the road, that's when you get Club Dub. And it's an absolute party in there. You saw it after like the Buffalo game last year. You could hear Club Dub going off in Sean Payton's post-game presser. Yeah, man, they're lighting up cigars in the locker room. It's a party in there. So you know that Club Dub is definitely going hard tonight. Yeah, this is one that Sean Payton is definitely going to probably want to sit back and really relish and enjoy. And he also did say that he wanted to stay back on the field a little bit and kind of catch up after the game with some of his old players like Cam Jordan and Demario Davis, some of those guys that had been with him for the long haul, some of those guys that were on that team in the late Drew Brees years where they really tried to go all in to win a championship. And I know this is obviously a Broncos-centered channel, but for the New Orleans Saints, it just feels like they've been trying to hang on to the past for far too long. And this year, because of all the injuries that they have, might finally be the year that forces their hand into a rebuild. They've been trying to kick the can down the road really ever since Drew Brees retired and avoid facing the music. Sean Payton saw that coming. That was one of the reasons why he didn't want to stick around in New Orleans, because he knew that ownership and management wasn't going to want to dive into a full-blown rebuild. And I don't think, to an extent, Sean wanted to be a part of that either. But still, he knew what this Saints team was going to ultimately end up becoming. And right now, we're starting to see that come to a full-blown head here. This Saints team, when you take away their top-end talent because of injuries, they are a shell of an NFL caliber team. They were basically a JV offense out there tonight. They couldn't do anything. Spencer Rattler looked lost out there against the Broncos defense. Big time credit to Vance Joseph and company for scheming up Spencer Rattler to really struggle, scheming up all that pressure to get in Rattler's face as we get another appearance from Frosty. At least say hi, Frosty, if you're going to bomb the video. Jeez. Seriously, dude, what do you want? But, man, this one is definitely one where in the trenches you expected Denver to come out and dominate, and that's exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. When you have a Saints team that has so many injuries on that offensive line. Even before they come into the year, they had Ryan Ramczyk, their starting right tackle, go down with an injury that possibly could be career-ending. So it all started early with the Saints. They started off, they steamrolled their opponents early against the Panthers and the Cowboys. We now know that the Cowboys aren't the high-quality opponent that we thought they were going into the year. And then obviously the Carolina Panthers are the Carolina Panthers. Saints now have lost 5 in a row, and they're in a really tough spot. But we got to, of course, get back into talking Broncos here because this is a Broncos-related channel. The Broncos are now 4-3. God damn it, dude. Frosty, get down. No. You don't need wet food, dude. You've got crunchies. But Broncos now sitting at 4-3. They're going into a very beatable opponent next week against the Carolina Panthers at home. It's a team that they really should steamroll as well. If the Broncos can come with back-to-back victories heading into that really tough road game stretch there against the Baltimore Ravens and against the Kansas City Chiefs, you're feeling a hell of a lot better about the season. If you come out of that sitting at 6-4, 5-5, you've got a real chance to control your own destiny in those back half games there. And some of those opponents look a lot more beatable than they did early on in the season. You think about the Bengals. You think about the Browns. The Chargers, I think, are going to be a game that the Broncos ultimately win. I don't see a scenario where the Broncos get swept by the Chargers. They haven't gotten swept by the Chargers since 2010. Oh, no. Paulson Adebo fractured his femur. Oh, my God. I couldn't imagine how bad that is. Like, I fractured my tibia and fibula, and don't get me wrong, that sucked. I wouldn't want to do it again, but that is a walk in the park in comparison to a broken femur. Like, I got out of the hospital the day after I injured my leg. I got out of the hospital the day after surgery. I was literally making videos that night. No way in hell Paulson Adebo is going to be able to get out of the hospital anytime soon. Oh, dude, that's nasty. I would never want to break my femur. I wouldn't want to break a bone again, period, but especially not my femur, dude. I wish Paulson Adebo nothing but the best. The dude was having an incredible season. Dude was leading the Saints in tackles as a cornerback. He had 3 interceptions, 10 pass deflections. So, yeah, man, definitely gutted for Paulson Adebo. Wish him nothing but the best. I'm assuming is going to have surgery on it tonight. So, yeah, man, wish him nothing but the best. Not sure if the Denver Broncos had any injuries in this game. There weren't really, at least of significant note. So that's definitely good. I got to talk about Mike McGlinchey. I thought that Mike McGlinchey coming back really ignited this Broncos run game. For as subpar as Mike McGlinchey is as a pass protector, he is one of the best run blocking tackles in this game. And it really helped open up this run game. We saw a lot of big holes be cleared by number 69 up there. So I got to give Mike McGlinchey some love. As good as Alex Palczewski has played at right tackle as a pass protector, get down, you little turd. But as good as as Alex Palczewski has played as a pass protector, you definitely did notice a step down in the run game when Mike McGlinchey exited, and we saw that run game really have that step forward that it needed with Mike McGlinchey back out there. Definitely good to see that. And the Broncos can continue to lean on the run game. The Carolina Panthers, their defense is not good. Their front has been decimated with injuries. Their best producers in run defense in Derek Brown, their defensive tackle, and Shaq Thompson, their linebacker, are both out for the season. So for the Broncos, this should be another favorable matchup on paper against the run. I think that the Broncos can be able to run the ball down the Panthers' throat, much like they did tonight against the Saints. The Broncos watched tape on the Saints, and they saw that the Buccaneers ran it down their throat, and Denver, no doubt, wanted to emulate that game plan. It was a little slow to get started. One thing that definitely intrigued me was that Sean Payton, towards the beginning of the game, lined up Marvin Mims in the backfield. They lined him up at tailback. No doubt he was trying to set up something there, because later on, if a team were to be one-on-one with a linebacker against Marvin Mims, you're basically asking to be cooked. So that's something that no doubt Sean Payton's trying to set up right there, and very interested to see if we see more games moving forward with Marvin Mims in the backfield. Let's see. I'm very curious why Sean Payton hasn't gone on the podium yet. Maybe he's just taking some extra time on the field like he said he was going to do. But yeah, he has not gone on the podium yet. So we're going to stay here on the post-game stream until he does hit the podium, guys. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please fire away. I am all ears. Yeah, man, I think that overall the Denver Broncos did a lot of good stuff today and a lot of stuff to be happy about. Sean Payton and Bo Nix did an amazing interview with the Amazon crew. Okay, that's where Sean was. I'll have to go check out that interview after we're done here. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Curious to see if now that after the game's over, I know a lot of Saints fans probably dipped out of there towards the start of the fourth quarter, but I'm curious to see if Sean got a positive reception after that. I know that Sean Payton's very divisive in New Orleans. Some people love him. Some people hate him for the way that he exited New Orleans. But at the end of the day, man, he went in there and proved that he can still be one of the best coaches in the NFL. Went back to his old stomping ground and put together a very convincing victory, man. I feel very good for Sean Payton. You know Sean Payton, he needed this. He needed this victory, and they were able to get it. They were able to get it, man, and big-time credit to them for going in there and not letting those early offensive struggles accumulate and they didn't let them get behind the chains early, which was really good. They didn't let those offensive issues steamroll them like in games past. The Broncos weren't able to overcome those self-inflicted wounds in the game against the Chargers. They had some self-inflicted wounds early. They were able to overcome them. And in the second half, we saw the Broncos, again, really start to open up that run game. And when you can lean on your run game like that in the second half, it's going to lead to a lot of success offensively. It also helps open up your passing game as well. I hope that we see the run game maybe start to get opened up a little bit earlier in games. That way it opens up the play action game. Smudge, no. Kitty, no. And that is my other cat being a little pain right there. Yeah, my other cat, Smudge. Nope. My laptop got unplugged. Sean and Bo got interviewed by Thursday Night Football crew. It was beautiful. Yeah, that's what DB just said. I'll have to check that out as soon as we get done with all the theatrics tonight. Once we do the press conferences, then we'll record a video kind of surmising everything and wrapping up tonight and really putting a bow on this evening. Broncos have now 10 days before their next game against the Carolina Panthers. Sort of a mini bye. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Sean Payton gave everybody the weekend off and let them go out of town for a day or two if they want to go out of town for the day or two. Let them go up to the mountains and relax and really enjoy this victory. And you've got that game against the Panthers, and then after that, you've got a really tough stretch. The Broncos don't have their real bye week until week 14, so this is going to be the closest thing for a while that the Denver Broncos are going to have to a bye week. And it comes at a much-needed time, that is for sure. The Broncos trying to get a little bit healthy with guys like Josh Reynolds, who unfortunately is still going to have to miss the Carolina Panthers game, but other guys might have the opportunity to get healthy. The Broncos did get Mike McGlinchey, Baron Browning back tonight, and we certainly felt the presence of Mike McGlinchey. Baron Browning, I don't think he had the greatest game today. I thought that Nick Bonito was easily the best edge rusher of the Denver Broncos today. But still, it allows you to kind of overcome some of those last injuries that you have going into a tough stretch against Baltimore and Kansas City on the road, and then Atlanta at home as well. So the Broncos definitely have got their work cut out for them in these next couple of days. They showed the locker room after the game. It was filled with smoke. Yep, they're lighting up those cigars, those victory cigars, baby. The defense was on fire. Barton confidence should be high, absolutely. I wish we gave some more of those runs to Javonte, but man, I felt good about our offense to gain some confidence heading into next week for sure. You showed that you can have a consistent ground game. You can lean on that ground game, especially now that Mike McGlinchey's back. It makes your run game just that much more dynamic. Sean definitely cracked a little there. I think now this is going to be the time where we start to see the tears flow from Sean a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he got a little bit emotional in his post-game presser. Sean was emotional in his interview that he did yesterday before the game with Carissa Thompson. He said that after the game is when he was really going to kind of let the emotions fly a little bit and kind of let all that just kind of relish in that moment a little bit. That, man, this is really happening. I've really made my return to New Orleans. This really has happened. And I think now this is the time where Sean's going to emotionally take it in and sort of process everything and maybe get some of those mushy hugs with some of his old friends from New Orleans out of the way. But it's not just Sean. 7 players on this roster have ties to the New Orleans Saints, as well as 11 members of the coaching staff. So there were a lot of bragging rights on the line for this game. A lot of emotions flying high for a lot of people in this game, and there are a lot of people that are going to be flying back to Denver tonight feeling damn good. Wow, Bo is the first rookie quarterback in Broncos history to win a primetime game. That is interesting. I don't know how many opportunities John Elway had on primetime as a rookie. And then Jay Cutler, I know at least one game that he lost on primetime, a Sunday night game. I believe it was either Seattle or the Chargers. That 2006 season, they played a couple teams on Sunday Night Football. It was either Seattle or the Chargers. But yeah, that's definitely very interesting. I'm annoyed they let New Orleans score. Yeah, they kind of started to play soft a little bit towards the end there, much like the Chargers did in their game against the Broncos where they were up 23, kind of let off the gas and play a little bit more soft zone defense and not really tip your hand schematically, defensively, what you're going to do for the following week. So, yeah, that happens sometimes. Definitely annoying for sure that they let them back in, but I don't think that you're too upset about that overall. He got emotional in his post-game speech. Also said when Drew after the game, yeah, you know that this was going to be the point in time where the emotions were going to start to fly for Bo Nix or for Sean Payton now that the game is over. This is the most rushing yards by a Broncos quarterback since Tim Tebow in 2011. Yeah, I believe that. I definitely believe that. It's stated on the stat line at the end. Yeah, I definitely believe that. I saw an image of Sean, Bo, and Drew Brees talking after the game. That's a hell of a picture right there, man. That is one hell of a picture. Yeah, you can tell that Sean Payton, okay, he just now took the podium. All right, guys, since Sean Payton has taken the podium, we're going to dip out of here and bring you guys those post-game pressers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. But before we dip out of here, guys, if you could do me a big favor, leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.